Well, hello, 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 fellow addicts. Welcome back to Addicts Live. I'm Alyssa, your resident head addict, and my co-hosts this week are the Monday morning math man himself, Super Safi.
Good morning, everyone, on the second day of the second month.
Oh, no.
And also my co-host this week is the almost always happy lately, and it's kind of freaking me out, the not so cranky old guy these days, Patrick.
Yeah, we've decided it's a Freaky Friday episode where you and I have just flipped. It's just easier. It's just easier. Yeah, so Groundhog Day is today. So supposedly the Groundhog
see a shadow.
Yeah, the spring is coming sooner. I call, nah. We'll see.
Listen, you ever watch that? You ever watch the Punxsutawney Phil thing? Literally, it's just a guy. It's a groundhog that comes out. He doesn't do anything, and then a guy holds up a scroll and reads what it. So it's really whoever's in charge of reading that scroll gets to decide if the groundhog sees a shadow or not.
Yeah. Well, I just know the Bill Murray movie is hilarious. I like that part. Anyway, all right then.
What's that?
I said, all right then.
Oh, that was. I thought it was happy. Wook unfortunately had to work at the House of Mouse today, but he sends his love, and he may pop in later, may not. We'll see what happens. But Wook can't be here today. But now it's time for your regular reminder. For those watching this live, the show is meant to be interactive, so share your questions and comments below and join in the fun. And we ask you to take a minute or two to answer the thought-provoking question this week, as well as our poll question. The thought-provoking question is, what are your thoughts about the multi-event style of play? So that's basically an open-ended question you can answer in the comments. And the poll question this week, which is a simple click, is who do you want to win the Super Bowl? Yes, tomorrow is Super Bowl Sunday. I think vast majority of people in America are not even remotely excited about it. But your choices are the Patriots, the Rams, or I don't care. I had to add that one in there because I figured most people just don't care. So take a moment to answer if you haven't already, and we will share our thoughts and results a little later in the show. So on with the show, boys. Can you feel the love? Can you feel it?
My whole thing was more of a mine was I wanted to add an addendum. This is a vicious, cranky style addendum. So C would be or no, A, B, and C. Yeah, D would be I don't care as long as Brady suffers a career-ending injury.
Well, that's mean.
I know. I tried to preface it and say that it was mean, but I don't care. I despise that guy.
I mean,
despise him.
When I want the Red Sox to not do well, I just wish they all get hand, foot, and mouth disease. It's not going to kill them. It's not going to end their careers. It's just going to give them hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Yeah, well, I'm done with him. He's done. He's had a career. We're done now. Thank you, Tom. Quit taunting us. Goodbye.
I'm still upset about the Saints. It should be the Saints in the final.
I agree.
It's not the Rams' fault. It's the official fault.
No, actually, what's weird, without going completely off the rails, what's weird is that this is truly the bad referee Super Bowl. Both games were altered significantly by horrible referee calls.
Oh yeah.
So it's okay.
The Kansas City Patriots game, that call, the rushing the passer or blocking or whatever the no call where the guy didn't even touch him and they call it, that was ridiculous.
Absolutely. It gave him new life. Now this is the Asterisk Bowl. That's what I'm calling it. Emphasis on ass.
As my dad says, Tom Brady is like Donald Trump. No matter how much you don't want him to win, he just keeps winning.
Wow.
So my dad says.
I'm just gonna slowly settle down.
Listen, you didn't want him to win the election, and look what happened. That's what I'm saying. That's what my dad says.
Yeah, well, I'm also wishing for a career since. Never mind.
Well, let's not make threats against the president of the United States on this show. I really don't need Secret Service showing up at my house.
I'm fine. Okay, I'm good.
Staff, are you going to say something?
All I'm going to say is I'm Canadian.
So send the Valentines to his house.
And now on to the show. Wow.
I've crippled Pat. So guys, can you feel the love, all the love in Springfield going on right now? We're in our second week of the Love Springfieldian Style event, and we're going to talk about the event in a minute. But first, I want to talk about the new feature that was added with the event, Town Portrait. What do you guys think about Town Portrait?
Love it. It works great on my phone. Works great. You know, I just love it. I mean, for me, particularly for like doing posts, if I'm trying to show a larger section of my town, I don't have to grab and post and photo edit and all that stuff. I really like it. Plus, it weirdly reminded me of how much free land I have in weird patches.
Yeah, so, right.
Yeah, really weird.
Staff.
I'm excited that they brought it in, and I've loved seeing some of the towns that people have posted. I personally haven't used it myself yet because my town is in disarray, and I'm kind of scared to look at it right now. But I'm so glad that they brought the feature in.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I mean, it works for all. I guess well, you don't know if it's going to work on your device, Saf, because you haven't tried it yet. But for Patrick and I, we haven't had issues. I haven't heard Wook having any issues. But it is bugged for quite a few users. I don't know if it's a space. First of all, Kindle players, or I shouldn't call it Kindle because people get mad at me when I call it Kindle because it's fire. Amazon users had a lot of issues. The Zoom doesn't work now on their game. That's a feature with the update. It just caused the Zoom to get screwed up, and a lot of times it's just crashing their game. But iPhone users, I've noticed, I haven't really seen too many Android players have issues, but a lot of iPhone users are having issues with it. I don't know if it's a space issue on their device, a memory issue with their device, or what the case is. Sometimes it just crashes and then the picture is still in their gallery. Anyway, but I did notice it's pretty bugged, which is not fun for a new rollout of something. I
got to imagine it is a memory thing. I mean, it is a huge file to try and fix at one time, and Apple in general doesn't like files more than 20 megs in regards to saving and pushing and moving from place to place. So it's, it may be that it's a memory thing. I haven't had any problem with my phone. I guess I haven't tried it with my pad, but my phone's got loads of memory, so I don't.
Well, too, if we look at what EA had said about Town Portrait, the steps that it does, it says, step 1, it takes images of the player's land. Step 2, it stitches the images together to create a full picture. Step 3, it shows a preview, the file size, and the option to save. And then step 4, the complete image is saved to their device. So, but just the process of step 1 and step 2, I mean, it's got to take multiple photos. Now it's doing it in the device, so it's a lot faster than if you were to screenshot it yourself, which is the old school way of doing things.
Right.
But it still is a matter of having to, it has to go through and take the picture, whether it's rapid fire or not. It's still taking that picture, and then it's got to put them all together. And I noticed in my town when I zoomed in on my my whole town feature, there was a couple buildings that got cut off, like by the stitching. It was kind of funny, like there's half the buildings missing, or it's just not lined up right. It's pretty funny. If you zoom in, you might actually notice, like if you zoom in and really look at stuff, it's pretty funny.
Mine was pretty accurate, but I kept the characters off, which might help.
I did too.
The other thing too is if you, as I think about it, as you're saying that, it may also be connection too, because taking the picture, if you don't have Wi-Fi hooked up, could really be a problem. Could take forever.
Yeah, that could be an issue. Now that you say that, I didn't really think about it, but that could be a picture. It could be a picture. It could be an issue. Saf, are you doing it now, or you just ran the?
So yeah, it worked out perfect. Picture came out great. Yeah, my town looks horrible, but otherwise.
That's what you get for nuking. Nuking like a year and a half ago.
Actually, what happened was my town nuked itself somehow. When was it? Maybe about 3-4 months ago. Wow! I came in one day and everything was in my inventory all over again.
Wow!
So that's scary. That's that's terrifying. The thought of having to redo everything.
That's got to be user error. That it has to be a user error. You say it did it automatically. But
there's
like
what
I'm kind of worried about, because I fell asleep and woke up with my phone on my chest. And the whole town nuked. So yeah, I feel like I might have done something while I was sleeping. So
like an ambient nuke.
The moral of the story, folks: don't nap and tap.
There we go.
You may nuke your town. No tapping in bed.
Your neighbors
on the couch.
His neighbors reported him walking around holding his phone in his underpants, walking through town. Staring around. No.
My boardwalk looks great though. So
there you go.
So yeah, I mean, so that's Town Portrait. We have a couple of reader comments about Town Portrait. Charles says, "I like the portrait, but I can't zoom in on the picture very much." And really, that was it. Charles was the only one who said anything. But yeah, so zooming in, that's the other thing too. You can zoom in, like my photo, I can zoom in pretty far and it repixelizes and it looks good. Some other players said they couldn't do that. So I don't know if they changed how much space it was in the process somehow. You know, after having all the issues, they might have changed how big the photo is, so you can't really zoom in as far.
Yeah, I just did one yesterday and it was fine. I mean, I think it has to do again with your device and how you're how you store stuff, you know, what you're looking at. It could be some people have settings to store things smaller too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect. Like you zoom in, you're really not going to be able to read crystal clear like the names on buildings and stuff. Like it's a photo, you know, just any photo. If you zoom in any photo really far, you're going to have some blurriness to it.
Right.
But it is pretty good as far as zooming in to get, you know, an accurate idea of how big a space is.
You can see what city I live in too. It's yeah.
There you go.
Zoom into
my so let's talk about this event, this Valentine's Day event. Last episode, a couple weeks ago, we got the preview packet for it right before the episode, and we were all excited. We were talking about it. So we've got another multi-style event, which is multi-event style of event. Bunch of prizes. So let's talk about the first 2 weeks of the event. We're 2 weeks in. We had week 1. Now we're week 2. Week 3 is going to start on Wednesday. What do you guys think? Your initial impressions of the event so far?
Go ahead, Wook.
Saf?
Wook?
No, I want you to be Wook. No, I'm sorry.
Well, he's not as fuzzy.
Especially not anymore, but yeah. What's it called? I'm really enjoying the multi-event. It's great to have an actual Valentine's Day type event. It seems like it's been a while since we've had a Valentine's Day event that's really been Valentine's Day centric. And the prizes so far, I've really enjoyed Mr. Bergstrom and Groundskeeper Wilma. So we're getting a lot of bracket battle characters and buildings. The prize tracks are great. The pace of the event, it's great for casual tappers as well as for hardcore addicts. Really can't think of too many negatives. It seems like we're getting a lot more useful prizes. We're not just getting like isolated land tokens. They're combining land tokens with actual nice prizes. Getting 3 Shelbyville buildings as one prize. Like, I mean, how can you complain about that? So overall, I'm really happy with the event or multi-event event.
the event. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that I much prefer the multi-event format. It keeps it moving quickly. The dialogue, again, as we said about Christmas, the dialogue is really good and fun and actually tells a story. And it gives the writers, I think, more freedom to have some fun. It is strange to me that Shelbyville is popping up with a handful of buildings and kind of randomly, as opposed to being its own event. But, we don't know. This could be a precursor to something else. I have had a blast immediately with everything. I've bought all of the premium things so far. I really am enjoying it. I mean, I think it's great. I think it's a lot of fun. It's easy. And again, people, that are the calendar-centric folk, this is so easy. I mean, I finished 3 days early both times on the first 2 weeks. And I have some premium characters, but I'm just doing the 4-hour cycle. I haven't even hit all the 4 hours. So yeah, it's fun. I like it.
Well, I like it. I mean, I like a lot of things, but I'm really enjoying the Valentine's Day event. But as Patrick mentioned, premium characters, as you read in my Should I Buy post, I know Patrick didn't read it because Patrick doesn't read anything I write. Unless I specifically tell him to. Golf and Die, I bought that because it specifically reminded me of Patrick. Principal D looks just like Patrick without hair.
Does not. He has skinny legs. That's
the skinny legs. You're right. The legs.
My wife. I have huge thighs and calves.
It's true. That's true. But as far as the rest of it, and minus the hair because he's bald and you're not. I bought them just because
No.
honestly, it reminds me of you in my town. Like I mean, I probably would have bought them anyway, but that just made me pull the trigger that much faster.
Because you need a tiebreaker. Go grab a plunger and put it on your head, Patrick, and let's see.
I mean, no, like when he's riding around in his golf cart, you can't see his skinny legs when he's in the golf cart.
True.
And he's driving around going like this, and it just reminds me of old man yelling at cloud.
No, it is hilarious. I think that I'm with Ebron. The only thing I'm missing is they need to bring back the golf course as an option, because I would definitely now build a full-size golf course now that I have all this extra land. But it's it's the putting thing. All of the animations very funny. It's good. I mean, it's a great character. I didn't comment on it because I thought it was kind of obvious. It's like, yep, I bought this. Yes, instant buy the minute it became available. Yes.
I just bought it because it reminded me of you. And when I put that in the post, a lot of players went, I didn't know I needed Patrick in my town, but now I do.
I'm everywhere. Yeah, no, it's cool. And I'm I don't know. Well, I don't know. They can choose a lot of characters, but I got to think that there's something to these guys reading our blog and following it along and everything else, which is great fun. I have no problem. I love all the golfers. Now I just want to build a course. So bring back the golf holes. That would be great. That would be
perfect. If you are listening, bring back the holes.
Yeah, bring back the holes. Damn it. So anyway, it's all good.
Yeah, multi-event, I'm really a big fan of these because they're short, they're sweet, they're to the point, they're easy to complete. The prizes have really been on point because you're not burning a prize with a land token or crafting currency. Your prizes are all legitimate prizes, with the exception of the Springfield Arch, which I do think is kind of out of place with this, but that's a whole nother story. But your prizes are great. With Shelbyville, you got 3 buildings with 1 prize, which was great. Plus you got more land tokens. The next act, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to get a bundle of stuff with one of the prizes. So that's neat. That's really nice to see. I think the prizes are on point and they're useful. I mean, I know a lot of people said they put Shelbyville stuff in inventory because they didn't quite know how to work it. And there's not enough of it. But like Pat said, I do think this might be a precursor to either the next mini event or another major event because there's a lot of Shelbyville characters that they can add as well.
Definitely.
So we may see, something like that. But you also have, if you paid cash for donuts, you do have the tow lot that was from Shelbyville. So that's an option too.
Well, plus I found my Ned RV with the lemon tree strapped to the top. So yeah, that was great fun. But yeah, I don't know. The thing that's interesting, I'm not really sure one way or the other. I'm actually going to write about it in the next Friday filler because I went back and I found the infamous map of Springfield that somebody made, I don't know, 5 years ago at least. I mean, it's been around for a long time. And it does kind of go back to that whole of where are things supposed to be. Then I found another post that it's like everything mapped that had kind of similar kinds of things. But Shelbyville is definitely one direction on our games. I mean, if you use that map, which I don't totally ascribe to, but if you use that map, Shelbyville is definitely in a certain direction. And so it's like, okay, well, that's interesting. Where it actually hits, I'll kind of tip it off. Where it actually hits is where they forced us to put the zoo and the itchy and scratchy land and some of that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see where you end up putting it.
You weren't forced to put it there.
They made me.
Just land that they opened. You can move that stuff wherever you want. In my case, I moved it to inventory. So you can move this stuff. So you can put Shelbyville.
I may do that when I decide to get more land. The only thing that's confusing to me, and I'll just throw this out, maybe I'm jumping the gun on further discussion, but to continue to give away free land tokens after they gave us the golden goose is
they didn't give us the golden goose, so it cost money.
I understand. It's a little odd to me.
Well, there's probably a ton of players who didn't buy the golden goose because it was 100.
Probably. You said probably. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Probably. You probably said probably.
Did it because there's probably quite a few players that did not buy the Golden Goose because it was 150 donuts, and that is expensive for a building, especially if you're not realizing if you don't, believe it or not, there are players that play this game that don't read our site, that don't use the internet at all.
Don't read our site. Idiots.
Right? So there's a lot of people who, if they don't go online, they don't look this stuff up, they don't know specifically what it does. So if you're not paying attention, you see $150 for a building. Why would $150, 150 donuts for a building? Why would you spend that? Like, it doesn't make sense unless you know specifically what it does and you have a need for it. So that's why they're still giving away land tokens. Plus, there's a lot of people who are not rushing the Golden Goose as you and I are not.
Right. Myself, yeah.
I mean, it's where you're just playing it at a regular pace. So getting the extra land tokens is nice because you have a little bit extra to play with. So it really does help speed up the process. Yeah, exactly. But what do you guys think as far as the storytelling theme for the multi-event? Does what it does is, because they're telling certain stories, none of the stories are really connected other than in the central theme that the characters are all telling stories for a specific purpose. So in Christmas, they were all telling specific stories to keep themselves busy because the TV was broken. This event, they're all telling specific stories to keep Snake occupied so he doesn't cut up Valentine's Day cards. So as far as the storytelling aspect, you really get 4 separate stories with each act. Does that you think that they're doing that because it allows them to give us prizes that are really disjointed from each other? In other words, taking us like the around the world event, you got all specific events for around the world, or items for around the world. With this event, you're getting the first act, you got Mr. Bergstrom and stuff for central to Mr. Bergstrom's episode. For this act, you're getting all Shelbyville stuff. So you're getting groundskeeper Wilma and then all the Shelbyville stuff. The next act is going to be something similar, and so on and so on. So you think that's why they're doing it, or you think, they're just kind of like, let's give them all this content. Everybody's asking for this stuff. Let's bring it in, but here's a way to do it without having to do 16 different events to do it.
I'd like to think they're that organized. I don't know. I mean, it's it's one of those things where they clearly have a ton of content they can bring us. That's the other thing that came up when I saw this map. When I revisited the map that's been around, like I said, for 5 years, there are loads of buildings that have not been given to us at this point. And I do think that there has to be some vehicle, because you can't always have a theme unless they went block by block or something, So I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I don't know. I got to say, looking ahead to the 4th act, though, it's like, what? Are you kidding me? I saw I don't want to tease it out because we're not supposed to, but man, act 4, I'm not sure I'm going to care.
Well, if you watch, because love Springfieldian Style is actually, let me, Safi, go ahead. You say your thoughts.
Well, no, yeah, I agree. I mean, it does give them the opportunity to bring in items that wouldn't be able to fill a 42-day event. By having these weekly stories as well, for the people who are hardcore addicts, we don't have to wait 2 weeks to get to the next part of the story. Every week you come in, you get a brand new part of the story. It feels fresh, it feels quick, it feels rapid. And again, going back to the events and prizes, it's kind of a combination of the two options. It does allow them to bring in things that have fewer items that they might not be able to stretch over a 42-day period into a 1 week period. As well, items that are just from one small episode, it allows them to bring them in as well. So
right.
You can find the central theme with Snake's cards or the TV being broken, but having these little mini events come together to become a multi-event. So it's really a great way of having the mini events, which really reinvigorated the game a couple of years ago, having multiple mini events put together. So I really like it.
Yeah, the other side of it too is that I think it does make you go back and look at some of the old episodes and remember, oh yeah, that was a good episode. I mean, Mr. Bergstrom, that's a classic. That's a classic. The only thing I have a problem with, and I know that's one of those things that we keep going over and over and over again, is that I still don't understand why some of these people are voiced and some of them are not. I get why Dustin Hoffman is not voiced. I get that, but with Nedward and Capri. Why is Nedward voiced and Capri isn't? Because they haven't cut a deal with what's her name?
Tress.
Yeah, Tress. It's like, please make that deal happen because she's integral in so many characters.
Well, especially now because she also does the voice for Daisy Duck in Mickey and the Roadster Racers on Disney, and now that Disney's going to own The Simpsons, it should be easier.
There you go. Yeah, just force her because the Disney is like.
But Disney's not going to own EA, so.
We'll see.
That's
yes, they're the Borg. It's the mouse Borg.
So what I was saying before is that Love Springfieldian Style is actually an episode of the show, and it's an anthology episode where it was maybe three stories that they just followed, and one of those stories was what Act 4 will be, Pat. So that's why that ties into that.
I'm aware. I just don't care. Sorry.
But so that's the other thing too. They have these anthology episodes. I think they have like five, somewhere between 5 and 10 of these episodes, and they can continue to do this. You know, you can continue to see like they have more Christmas ones. You can see another Christmas, centered around this multi-event. I think that's where these multi-events are coming from. That idea of the anthology, and they're like, okay, let's take this 3 separate Simpsons stories and tell it into an event, but instead of having it a 3-week event, make it a 4-week event, so you tell 4 separate Simpsons stories. Yeah. I think that's kind of where this is all tying into, and that's a good idea to look at to see, you know, what we potentially could get in the future with those, because they did a Treehouse of Horror. Well, Treehouse of Horrors are always like that. The Valentine's Day one, then they had like a Simpsons clip show, and they brought other stuff in, so might be interesting to do something with that. But they're fun.
Bottom line, they're fun.
Yes.
I think the next evolution going from like the 42-day 3-act event to this multi-event is going to be like the 27 short stories where each day we'll have like a different one where we'll finally get the big tall guy with the little car and we'll have him Depends Nelson and everyone laughing Nelson.
I will not be doing a calendar on that one, just so you know. 27 days. And it's here, and now it's gone. And now it's here, and now it's gone. So.
But I feel like, I don't know if it's just me, maybe because I created the bracket battles, but I feel like they've really ramped up this content that's coming in from the bracket battles.
That's where I'm going next. I mean, they really have, I feel like almost everything that pops up in this event is something from a bracket battle. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find something like the Bluffs. The Bluffs were not in the bracket battle. Okay.
They weren't going to be this summer, spoiler alert, but anyways.
But like CBG, Samantha Stanky, like all these things were part of the bracket battles, the 2, most recent ones. So it's like EA's, they're listening by stealing our ideas.
Mr. Bergstrom, Principal Dundelinger, yeah, all of them.
Yeah. Who else? I'm trying to think. There was something else. I was like, that was from a bracket battle. Golf and Dive.
The Shelbyville buildings that just came. Joe's was in there.
Yep. Union Station was in there. I'm trying to think. I mean, it's interesting to see that it really is showing that they are listening. It took them a little while, but they are listening and they are finding ways to incorporate these things into events. This is the one. I mean, the last few events we've seen, like, okay, this is a bracket battle character. This was a bracket battle character, but we are really seeing with this event, it's a lot of bracket battle stuff between characters and buildings. Like they probably could have just called this Staffy's bracket battle multi-event.
Yeah, I mean, which is probably a good thing. I mean, I think that it keeps pressure on these guys to pay attention, and I think it's all a good thing. So,
I agree. Check and see. So we've got a couple of comments. So let's see. J. Cooley 9 says the multi-event prizes have been great. The only downside is that these events are simply 4-hour clears. The previous events, they usually had a secondary action like tappables or mini games. It makes it easy to get to all. Makes it easy to get it all during the event. It just feels like these events are missing something. Fred says Howdy. Really love the multi-style event. Really, really love finally getting Little Miss Vicky. Really hate the Shelbyville content. Plus train station with no tracks. Always a pleasure to watch this live. And he said, I forgot. I really hate that there's no longer neighbor interaction. And Amy says, I'm really enjoying the event. It's good. It's a good event. The dialogue is pretty funny, and the premium items and returning items that are offered are great. My favorite part is that we got Mr. Bergstrom, which is a character that I've been wanting for a really long time. I think it's funny because remember at the end of 2018 when we did our episode, year in review episode, and we were like, what character will everybody really want? None of us did Mr. Bergstrom. We all forgot. We all forgot.
Actually, at the end of that episode, I went to the bracket battle and looked at the rounds, and I did point out that Mr. Bergstrom was the highest ranking character left to be added to the game.
But none of us thought of it off the top of our head.
No, we didn't. Yeah, no.
It was just funny. We were like, "What's the next character?"
I'm old. I'm old. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, for God's sake. So
that's scary because it's only 9:30 there. That's scary.
It's true.
The dialogue is really good. I agree. It's fresh. It's I like that we keep getting new dialogue every week. Some of it is actually going to tie into not this Monday's Math Mayhem, but next Monday's Math Mayhem will tie into the episodes, as well as some dialogue that we just saw in the second week. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
But
yeah, the train station thing is funny. Is that yeah, it would have been cool with track. With the monorail, there's just realistically there was no way it was going to happen. That would have been a whole extra element of crazy. I like the train station. I like trains, as I wrote about yesterday. It's like, it was fine. I incorporated. I made it work, but it was kind of random. To have it pop up, it was a little bit random. But I like it.
It's exactly what I was thinking of doing. Was just putting trains, making it like a rail yard with the trains there.
Right.
That's exactly what I was thinking of doing, if I decide to sit down and actually do things. But Jay Cooley's comment actually bring me back to my next thing. Will addicts ever be happy with this game? Will they ever find contentment with this game? Because it seems like there's always something to complain about. Original complaint, and we all made this complaint, that the events were too long. 6 weeks, too long. Make the events 4 weeks. They'll be better. So what did EA do? They made a 4-week event. 4 weeks, lots of action. Now everybody's complaining that they're too easy. So
yeah, no, it is endemic. I mean, because you have two very specific kinds of players, and the folks that are hardcore gamers like it really complicated. They like to be challenged all the time. And so the comment of, that it used to be that we had this and this and this. That's true, but that was like 3 years ago. I mean, it's not recently. This has not happened for a very long time, that we had games inside of games and things like that, except for the drone and things like that. Those are really hard, hardly comparable games.
But even like Fred said, he misses neighbor interactions. Well, previously the complaint was neighbor interactions are dumb because they don't do anything. They're really pointless to go and visit your neighbors because you're getting such little currency. It's not worth the time you spend.
Yeah.
Now, complaining that we don't have that. It's like same thing with crafting. Crafting is stupid. It's hard. It's annoying. It takes forever. I hate it. I hate leveling up. They eliminate crafting. People are complaining there's no crafting. They say the events are too hard. They can't finish them. So they make it easier. You got no timer. You have all 4 weeks to finish Act 1. Now people are complaining that they're too easy.
I think Alyssa's actually doing a rant here against TSTO players, but that's okay. No, I understand. I'm just saying
the more things change, the more they stay the same in the minds of the readers, because they're always going to have something to complain about. There's just no one can find contentment with this? Is complacency a good thing or a bad thing? Like if you're complacent with the game, you're like, oh, this is fine. I'm good. I'm just keep tapping. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's more philosophical than anything, because if you're complacent, you're not pushing for things to change, and you're not pushing for change. And that might mean the end of the game because nothing is evolving, and it might bore other people.
Wow, that's dark. I don't think we had to go all the way there. But
it's philosophical.
Wow. Why? I mean, the sun's gonna, blow up and destroy the earth in 2 million years. Why bother?
Well, if you ask some of our Congress people, they say 12. So
yeah, there we go. No, it is interesting. The neighbor thing is I have found the neighbor thing to be not annoying really at all, because it's helped me delineate who my true neighbors are. You know, it's like that. I have 100 neighbors, but how many of them really visit me? Well, now it's pretty easy, because every time we have these kinds of events where we can visit, I get tagged to death. I mean, my righteousness meter drops off the face of the earth for about 2 weeks, and then for no reason whatsoever, it goes back up again. So I still don't know the mystery of the righteousness meter, because I haven't touched a thing. It went down to I mean, I got a half a star for about 3 weeks, because my neighbors were all tagging the crap out of my town, which is fine. I love it because I tagged them back. But but the fact is that it means nothing. Now I'm back up to 4 stars again. I have no idea why.
That's funny. You're only up to 4 stars. You really should be 5
or 5, whatever. I'm full blown. I'm full. Whatever, full of
righteousness.
Yes, I keep saying righteousness is overrated. So anyway,
I don't know,
I'm all the way.
So with neighbor interactions, I mean, I felt like people would complain that when they had them, it would glitch and shut down. For me, like the biggest benefit of neighbor interactions is just actually going and seeing neighbors' town designs, and then when you get a donut, that's always exciting. So. I love getting a donut, visiting a neighbor. But as far as getting event currency, I mean, I never really went to neighbors just for the purpose of getting event currency, because it was usually so minimal that it was really negligible.
Right.
So, I mean, to not have that during events, it's not really a big loss for me.
I mean, to me, I feel like they can fix this, although people will still find a reason to complain. But if they want to make it more challenging and bring back neighbor interactions, all they have to do is bring back something like Christmas 2013, when they had the gifts that you dropped and you had to clear and everything. That was great, because you earned currency that way. But also they need to bring back community prizes.
That's the obvious way to do it. That's really the obvious way to do it.
But they also can just add more friendship prizes. They stopped those. That's another way to increase neighbor interactions. And actually, a reader just commented that, let's see, Justin said, I have said it before, but land tiles for neighbor interactions would be great for the friendship prize track. So
that's a really good point. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, to make it more challenging, all they have to do is bring back what they did for stonecutters. Have a riddle every day that you have to solve to earn currency. Now, it doesn't have to be the main thing, but it's like that extra bonus currency you can get.
So I think we've opened up a question that we haven't really touched on that I think is important. So the land tile thing and the golden goose and all the other kinds of things that are there, it's like, how much land is ever really going to be available? So we've seen the map of available land of what it is right now. Are they, I mean, it seems to me now it's starting to look like a pretty good square, even chunk of stuff. Are they suddenly going to open up land above Springfield Heights? Well, that makes sense. That makes sense at some point. But is this all the land we're going to get? That's the question I have, because there's an obvious penalty for getting all the land. Your golden goose stops working, et cetera, et cetera. Is this all the land we're ever going to get in the game? I think it's a valid question at this point.
It is. But you won't know the answer until the next event, because this event they released land, but it was the chunk that was missing. It was like the Oklahoma that was missing. Right. So that's filled in now. So now, like you said, it's a rectangle now.
Yep.
Aside from Springfield Heights, which you can't use land tokens for anyway. And you'll find out, the obvious thing would be finding out with the next event, because if they open up more land, then okay, they're going to continue to add land. If they don't, you're like, okay, this is likely it, at least for some time.
Right.
But it is a ton of land open. I mean,
no, it's huge. And so the people that are out of land that actually rushed ahead to get all the land and whatever, I do not understand what you're doing with all the land. I mean, I get it. Some people are putting like one building and 4 giant chunks of land around it and 3 trees. It's like, really? That's the way the world looks to you? Have you looked at a topographical map? That's not the way a neighborhood looks.
Maybe they're in Montana.
So one of the
yeah, that's true. I forgot our Montana players. Okay, you're right.
So one of the reasons that I went through a lot of land was the fact that I would have two-sided roads with a third road in the middle that would run the monorail track. So when you're having 3 blocks for a street as opposed to one block, it does make a big difference.
You do realize how anal retentive that is, though. I mean, you'll admit that, right? Okay, good.
Have you read my posts and have you seen me?
No, I mean, the thing is that I've got huge monorail system. I do not try and give it its own, I get what you're saying. It makes everything exponentially huge if you do that, but it's all good. Everybody plays the game their own way.
Yeah, one of the big advantages I found in that was that it doesn't hide the street. I found sometimes when you would have a single layer of street, it would hide anything that's on the street or hide buildings behind buildings.
Have you been to Seattle before? Have you ever seen a monorail in a city before? They don't give it its own street, just so you know. It's like it runs right through the town. It's like, so I'm sure there's things that are hidden, but I guess I'm too much of a realist. It's like real estate is expensive in the world. And when you build a city, it always starts with a core. And then there might be suburbs that have more land, but everything generally in a city is pretty tight.
That's generally how I play too when I actually spend the time to design my game. Aside from irony, like I like to go for like ironic things in my game. Like I put the Stomach Staples Center right next to the smorgasbord because it's funny to me.
There you go. I like that. Yeah.
So like things like that I do. But as far as like how things are placed, like I have neighborhoods in my Springfield. I don't place houses randomly. I put, like I moved George Bush's house closer to the Simpsons house because in the episode, that's where it was.
Right.
Things like that. You got certain things by the beach. You've got some hotels by the beach. You've got houses on the beach. Like I try to be as real as I can. I think to myself, and this actually leads me into what I was going to talk about next is designing everything. But, I try to think in my mind, how would this actually work if this was real? And I know that sounds silly because it's a game, but I mean, Pat, you have the same, and I'm sure there's tons of players that play that way.
No, my credo was I want to build a town I would live in. That's my credo.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, my monorail, the way that my monorail runs is I actually have stations in places that make sense. Like there's a station by the Vegas Strip. I'm like, because they're going to want to go, you go to the Vegas, and I'm going to get off to go to the Strip. There's a station by the beach. There's a station by the North Pole. Like I try to make things make sense as much as possible. And I was telling Ebron in the comments the other day, because she was debating about St. Sebastian's School for Wicked Girls. And I said, well, it's perfect because it's the nuns are French Canadian nuns. So you put this up in a Canada section,
like Canada,
put ice tiles there, you make a Canada section. And that's how you have to think about a lot of this stuff, because some of the stuff doesn't really make 100% sense to put in the game or exist in your existing Springfield. But you have to kind of go out and be like, okay, if this were real, X amount of distance away, there would be Canada. X amount of distance away, there would be, Shelbyville. So that's where you have to kind of lay out and plan. You don't put Joe's right next to Moe's. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
No, I actually went with that. And so I have my Canada and my border crossing, all that stuff. Everything that's kind of Canadian is in one clump. But I had the Canadians actually build a wall around it so that the Americans couldn't get in. So it's all good. Anyway.
Who paid for it?
The Mexicans. Anyway, go ahead.
American paid for it. So, I mean, what do you guys think as far as design? Saf, what do you think as far as designing some of the stuff, like how it would lay out in your town itself?
No, absolutely. I agree that it's got to have some type of semblance to real life or some sort of logic to it. You know me with logic. So, I mean, like the Krusty Land monorail station is by Krusty Land. And then you have the North Pole station. That's where all my Christmas and North Pole items are, and snow tiles and all the winter stuff. The tetanus station is in the poor area where I got all my Cletus's house farm and like all the stuff from Meat Hook and Ramrod and the Outback and all that stuff. Outland, excuse me. So yeah, there's all my hospitals and medical buildings are in one area. I got all my houses in 3 little streets. I got the Rainbow Street that has the blue house, the orange house, the purple house, the pink house, the white house. And like definitely I believe in logic and having things laid out in a way that makes sense to me.
Yeah, this one, when I started opening up land, I started having some fun with it. So as people that have seen my posts, I have my dystopia world, my Meat Hook and all those guys are now up in what is now Burning Man. Basically, it's up in its own section, but it's right next to my religious heavens section as well. And I had to figure out a way to make sense of it. So I have the slaughterhouse there, which is purgatory, and then I have a highway that connects all the way across now. That's the highway to hell. I love it. So it's one of those, it's right. I have to get music to play, but it's one of those things where the extra land does give you freedom, but some of these things we've been getting force you to move stuff around. So again, the school for girls in Canada made me move some things that I hadn't planned on moving. There was probably 4 or 5 things actually that I ended up moving this episode because they logically fit someplace else. I had to make room. So it's pretty interesting if you use logic.
The other thing too is, don't forget, you got to design to make you happy and what you want to do. And like I said, that's why we all do our little things that make us laugh. Like I put the Stomach Staples the Stomach Staples Center next to the smorgasbord. Pat has you just said something that totally made me laugh and I forgot what it was.
Well, the highway to hell and purgatory and
like
do
things that make you laugh, because in the end it is a game. But also, don't be afraid of your inventory. If something doesn't work for you, you don't have to put it in your town. If it just, and then there may be something that comes out later that works better. Like somebody put the gym set from Bart Royale. I know I said I was never going to talk about it again, but the gym set from Bart Royale out next to the childarium. So, and it worked. The design worked for it. So don't be afraid to put stuff in your inventory, to think about it later when something else might come out 6 months from now. And you'd be like, oh, I have X, Y, and Z that'll work perfect with it. But, today X, Y, and Z won't make sense in your town because it's just random crap.
I mean, I have a whole child section that is just south of my giant casino area. So it's where the parents dump the kids before they go gambling. And so now that is now expanded to include like the skating rink and all these different things that are all kid related, which is great fun. But before I forget, I have to tell you that you told me that the newest golfer reminds you of me. My little trailer of the blinking cattle in Purgatory by the slaughterhouse reminds me of you. Those are just little veal cutlets waiting to happen. So, oops. I got her.
What about me? Do Apu and Sanjay remind you of me?
No, never. No, you're too. No, there's a.
What about your Canada area? Does that?
Dude, I'm convinced you're a spy. So you're somewhere in the spy zone. I have this huge spy zone that you go to too many countries. You're too smart. You have this job, quote unquote, that no one could really totally understand. You speak like 42 languages. It's like, nah, this dude's a spy. Sorry, this whole TSTO thing's a cover. So no, you're somewhere in my spy world. I haven't figured that yet.
Gotcha.
So real quick, I wanted to talk about something that Matt Selman tweeted a couple days ago. Matt Selman, for those who don't know, is a producer and writer for The Simpsons. He's, if you're familiar with the show, he's been around for a long time. He tweeted a photo, and it's down in the show notes below us, of a billboard outside of Fox Studios it was a tapped out billboard, and it said 30 billion with Homer laying on a bunch of donuts. And so for those listening to this as a podcast, you can go to the site, check out the episode. You can see the image, or you can go to Matt Selman's Twitter. It's on there. And those who are watching this right now, you just look below us and you can see it. But what Matt said was the brand is still strong. So the 30 billion, I believe, implies that there's 30 billion donuts used or spent, or my thought process is that have been used, not purchased in the game, which a lot of that is attributed to donut farming. But the bigger question is that he said the brand is still strong. There's a billboard of tapped out outside Fox Studios in 2019. The game is almost 6 years old, and the billboard's there. It's a new billboard, and the brand is still strong, meaning that it doesn't look like the end is anytime soon. I don't think that a billboard would be invested in if the end was soon. But I just think it's kind of interesting to see this. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, again, using logic, this game does not cost a lot to do. It's server stuff. It's a handful of programmers. It's just compared to other games that EA does. This is a tiny team comparatively, and so as long as it keeps generating net cash, which it does clearly. Donut farmers or not, I don't see any reason, as long as the game is around, as long as the show is around, I don't see any reason for it to go anywhere. And we know that the show's going to go at least another 2 seasons at this point. That much we know. After that, the whole Disney thing becomes a question, but that's a whole different question.
There was an article about that, about once Disney, because they're contracted, I think, for 2 more seasons, and once Disney takes over, the show is actually worth more dead than alive to them. Because of syndication and everything. So that's interesting to see what happens once Disney takes over, what will actually happen. Because I think in 2 years, the FXX contract runs out too.
So basically, it turns Disney into Mr. Potter and the game into George Bailey. So you're worth more dead than alive, George. Yeah, it's that. Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yes.
Random.
What do you think, Seth?
I think Pat hit the nail on the head with the comment that as long as the game is going, the show is going, I don't see the game going anywhere. So yeah, for the next 2 years at least, we can all rest easy that we're going to be tapping new content. And even let's say 2 years from now, the show is over. I don't see them taking the game offline or doing anything like that. It will still be available. There might not be any new content, but the game will still be available for people to reach this Monday's number of 4.3 billion game cash and to design their towns and just keep redesigning over and over. I feel like that would go on for at least a couple years beyond the end of the show and the end of new content on the game. So yeah, the game is still going strong for several years.
I think the land question is the biggest one. I think that's the one that's going to reveal itself soonest, and it will actually give us some kind of an indication of where this thing turns. So as Safi says, you can keep redesigning, and as Ebron and some of the most ardent Tapper designers have proven, there is no end. You can nuke and keep going and going and going and going and going forever, as long as the thing stays online. But the big mystery is, when do they open up land above Springfield Heights? I've got to believe it's sometime this year. I just have a sense that that's going to happen. After that, the question of the square being an immaculate square, or does it get bigger by strips and chunks? I don't know. That's a big question. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes, because that will, in fact, limit or inhibit some players from playing. It's not going to bother me, but it's going to inhibit some players from playing. So we'll see.
So basically, it's stay tuned to see what happens.
Yeah, I do.
As it's been for the last 6 years.
Yeah, Springfield hits wave 3.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's jump to the poll results. Guys, who do you want to win the Super Bowl?
I'm going to go with the Pats, just because I'm still really disappointed about the Saints losing to the Rams.
No, I want the Rams to win, just for the reasons I already said.
It's not who do you want, I'm sorry. It's who will win. So, like if you were putting money on this, who will win?
New England's going to win the game.
The Pats. The Pats, because I like Pat.
Yeah, then stop it. Just stop associating me with that.
I agree. I do think the Patriots will win. I know if Wookie were here, he'd be adamantly against the Patriots and say the Rams, just because he hates Tom Brady. Also, the Rams are from LA, although I know he's a Chargers fan, so I don't know how that works.
Let's put it this way. Let me put it this way. If in fact the Rams pull it off and beat the New England Patriots, it could be one of the best games in history. I mean, it could go right up there with the year that Von Miller made Pretty Boy Brady's life miserable. So I would be fine with that.
The Eagles won last year, so Philly.
Yeah,
he's lost 3 Super Bowls. Let's just remember that.
And they all were to the NFC East. You're welcome.
Yeah, well, I'm fine with that. You know, I would like very much for them to lose. I don't think it's going to happen.
So the readers, 39% don't care. Almost 24% say the Rams. 19% say what's a Super Bowl, and almost 18% say the Patriots. So the readers are not rooting for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Because otherwise, that's it from us.
No, I think, you know, when we get to the all dogs go to heaven segment of this game
that you weren't supposed to talk about because you said you weren't going to talk about.
It's not. I didn't reveal anything. I threw a red herring, but no, I'll scratch my head a little bit. I'll go back and watch the episode again, and we'll go from there. But no, I think again, this is a great episode, a great event. If they're all like this in the future, I think it bodes well for the game. I really am enjoying the 4-act format, period.
It's fast. It moves well. It's not. It doesn't feel like it drags. It's like,
no.
From a blogging perspective, there's always something to write about every day, and it moves quickly. Like it's keeping me on my toes. I'm not sitting there saying, "Oh crap, I need something to write today," and there's nothing to write about. Like it's because before I know it, it's a new week.
And for the readers, just so you know, Alyssa does not let go of this stuff. Just so you know, I've offered to write millions of. No. I've got it covered. She is a machine, folks. She is a veritable blog machine. So there you go. Good job.
Calculator. I'm just good for math post.
Yeah.
There we go.
Saf, do you have anything else you want to add?
No. I'm just going to reiterate what Pat said. I really like the multi-event, excuse me. And really looking forward to the next 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks will likely be our next show. We'll be wrapping up Valentine's Day because that'll be right before week 4 ends. And we'll be talking about what possibly could be next. So that's February 16th. That will likely be our next show. As always, there'll be an announcement prior to that. But beyond that, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating. And we will see everyone in a couple of weeks. Enjoy the rest of Act 2, Act 3, and Act 4. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.